Hello everyone, welcome back to another weather video. Today we'll be taking a look at our tropics as we have Tropical Storm Humberto starting to take shape here in the Central Atlantic. And we also have 94L, which recently has been getting more interesting as the days have gone on. And believe it or not, we could be looking at our first hurricane landfall of the season. It only took to almost the start of October for this to happen, but it looks like eventually now we will get our first hurricane landfall in a region that really doesn't need another landfall. If we get a closer up on Humberto here, Tropical Storm Humberto, you can see before. Oh, it actually shows at night too, which is very nice. I don't know why this one frame that it cannot load. It's been bugging me out all day. But you can see this storm has been starting to really get its act together. You can see we're having a nice circulation throughout this storm here. And then as we continue on, you can see this thing just starts to blow up and blossom. More convection. It's really doing very good for itself right now, this storm. And if we go to let's go to long wave real quick, and hopefully, yeah, that one frame, it's been stuck on 97%. I don't know why, but you can see it's just been blossoming all day, and now we're really starting to get a constant activity right around the low, around 22 north and 57 west. It's a constant activity. It almost looks like it's moving west-southwest a little bit, which I would not be surprised of that at all. Now, if you go to 94L, this is going to be a big winner in this event here. You can see there's two pockets of convective area right now. There's one by pretty much the border of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and there's one just off the coast of Puerto Rico. This is what we're going to be looking at. As a low pressure system is generally in this area, and then eventually is going to make a trek east northeast towards the Bahamas. Once it gets to the Bahamas, that's when we're starting to have our unfavorable environment for the storm to quickly strengthen, and then eventually either go straight out to sea by the help of Humberto, or get curved into the coast with the help of Humberto. So this is a very tricky situation that we have here. Either solution is still on the table as we are a couple days out from landfall. On your screen now is Tropical Storm Humberto. As of right now, if we take a look at the cone and current conditions, it has a sustained winds of 60 miles per hour and is moving northwest at 6 miles per hour, and maybe having a little bit of a slight deviation west-southwest. That could affect 94L a little bit more than anticipated, but is projected to become a major by 2 a.m. Sunday, and then continue a trek west-northwest in between the Carolinas and Bermuda. Now if we go to the spaghetti models, that is our models where it tracks the potential track of the storm, and you can see most of them take them out to sea in a general west, then west-northwest, and then east-northeast direction. But you do have some model noise that want to take this into the East Coast. I don't buy it at this general time because there has been not one model that I have seen personally show that potential track. But anything is possible with this tricky setup. You have a block to the north, you have a little bit of a neutral to slightly negative tilt that is going to allow 94L to come into the coast. So anything is possible at this time. I would not rule anything out at this time. If we go to the GFS ensembles here, you can see it shows pretty much the same solution. It curves pretty much almost like an Erin track, maybe not as far west as Erin was, but in between the Bermuda and Carolinas, with a few stranglers out that make it to Carolina. But this should create another big big wave event for the East Coast. I could not rule that out, especially if this thing gets up to a Category 4, which some models are predicting. Some models are predicting as low as a Cat 1. I would not believe these models at all. It's definitely going to get above a Cat 1 strength. So anywhere from Cat 1 to Cat 4, our most likely prediction is going to be anywhere from a Cat 2 to 4, I believe. I do think it is going to be in a favorable environment enough to a point where it'll get above Category 1 strength. And if we take a look at our Canadian ensembles, as you can see, generally the same thing. Takes it out to the west, then north, and then east-northeast with a few stragglers off on the western side of the track. But once again, this is a couple days out. It's not even going to be making it to Bermuda's longitude until Tuesday, so we do have a couple days to watch this and see if anything spooky or undecided happens with this system. Now, if we take a look at 94L, this is where things start to get interesting. Our current pressure is at 1,011 millibars, and a new update, which just came in as I was recording this, has finally made it past Haiti and the DR, so it has made it over water, so it should start to strengthen. And this is our new spaghetti models. The new spaghetti models pretty much have all of them making landfall somewhere in the southeast coast, besides one that takes it very close to South Carolina and North Carolina, then eventually curving out to sea. But notice, all of them pretty much have it going over the Bahamas and then making pretty much a turn towards the Carolinas and Georgian border. Even one has one in landfall in the Georgia and Florida border, which is pretty impressive for how far west that model is showing. But I would say anywhere from, say, southern Virginia all the way to northern Florida definitely has to look out for this. And sadly, people in the mountains, again, they just, 1 year ago on the 22nd, which was 3 days ago, was Helene's anniversary, where they had the devastating flooding. Sadly, I think we do have to look out for that devastating flooding to happen again, which you do not want to have that happen to anyone, especially in a place that is just recovering from that to just happened a year ago, a few days ago. The GFS spaghetti plots, you could, it really does look like if you threw spaghetti at a wall and just let it stick to the wall, that this is pretty much what you would get, pretty much. You have anywhere from landfalls, anywhere from Georgia all the way to curving safely out to sea south of Bermuda. So this is a very big spread on the GFS cone that looks like this. If you were to actually draw it back down, it looks like a tornado cloud, but that's pretty cool. But anyways, anywhere I believe south of New Jersey would have to look out for a potential landfall. And not to say this could just keep going up the coast, but that is pretty unlikely due to the blocking and troughing that we have up north. But once again, if we go back and take a look at the Canadian ensembles, it looks like you threw spaghetti at a wall again. Even though they're called spaghetti models, you wish you would have more of a closer spread than this, but most of them take them either up the coast into North South Carolina or take them out to sea towards Bermuda. So there is definitely two options still on the table that could happen for this storm, and then it looks like most of our intensity model guidance wants to take it into a tropical storm. I would not be surprised if you get into a mid-range category 1 or a low-end category 2. I hope it stays a tropical storm, so only rain would be a factor for this system. But storms this year have liked to rapidly intensify, so I cannot rule out a possible category 2 with this system. On your screen now is the GFS model on the 12Z. I don't really like using the 18Z or 6Z when you have the 12 and 0Z out. Excuse me, the 6Z and 18Z like to use old data, so I'm just going to use the 12Z because that's when we had the fresh new data. So as you can see on your screen, you have 47L down here, and you also have Humberto over here. But notice as we keep going a little bit further, you can see, and compared to runs a few runs ago, you can see it's much further north than it anticipated a few days ago, and you can also note that it's a lot stronger. So with this being said, Humberto is probably going to have less of an effect on it than people thought at first. We have a positive, almost a neutral trough out here on the southeast coast that's going to allow this to just go pretty much east-northeast into the coast, and then this is going to get tugged around a high pressure out to sea, at least as of now. But Humberto, since it's so far to the right now and it's not as strong as we thought it was going to be, and this is stronger, this is going to have a less of effect to be able just to pull it out to sea as of now. But things could change just as quickly as that did in the past couple days. And notice you just have so much blocking up here that's going to prevent this storm just to escape off the coast, and you have blocking out here so it can't really escape like Humberto is. So this is sadly going to be pulled into the coast. It looks like that as of now, but at least according to the GFS, it wants to be pulled into the Myrtle Beach area, or a little bit more south compared to on this run, it looks like. And sadly, this thing is going to be a rainmaker. You can see it has landfall, I'd say about 9 980 storm. So that's probably a strong end Cat 1, at least on this model run. And notice how it just goes into the mountains and just sticks around for a couple days. But then even after, it does bring its moisture up north when it can finally get set free from the block. But that is 250 hours out, and I could not believe that as of now. But if we go to the total, not snowfall, if we go to the total accumulated rainfall here, you can see there is a ton of rain here on the coast here. This is anywhere in this pocket here is anywhere from 6 inches of rain. And the reason why I am so concerned for this area is because we just had Hurricane Helene a year ago, and we are still recovering from that, obviously. Other models are more aggressive with rainfall, and I'll show you exactly why in a moment. The Canadian today thankfully backed off the idea of Hurricane Imelda possibly going into South Carolina, and that's because Humberto was able to catch up to it and have a Fujiwara effect. A Fujiwara effect is when two hurricanes get close to each other and bounce around a little bit, they swirl around each other, and then eventually, as you can see here, get absorbed by one of the stronger storms and then get kicked out to sea. That was shown by the CMC model. If we go up to the 500 millibar height anomaly and compare it to the GFS here, you can see this is much weaker over here and more of a positively tilted trough. So this is also weaker too. So this has an escape here. You can see it does have a route out. Oh, that was a terrible arrow. But this does have an escape out to sea here. This not so much. This does more because it's right around the ridge and will be having greater effect by that ridge. And this is also weaker and more west. So yes, you do have an area of opening right here. If we compare that to the GFS 12Z run, you could see, and fast forward a little bit here, you could see not so much of an effect. You could see this is farther north compared to the Canadian model. This is also stronger, and this is blocked off. So sadly, this is also a landfall here, and you can see how more of a negatively tilted trough this is. So it does get pulled and twisted in. If we compare that to the Canadian here, you can see it's just closed off and a positively tilted trough here. And this is so much further south and weaker, it doesn't even have a chance to get pulled in. But that's also one model. If we go to the European AI here and take a look at that, you can see this is further north, this is stronger, this is weaker, and this is stronger. You notice how it does, it gets to South Carolina, and then eventually this has an effect to pull this thing out to sea, and then eventually it wants to almost curl it back to the coast, and then that eventually gets kicked out when a trough comes back. So if we go to the preset map and take a look at what that shows, you can see you have 94L, soon to be Humberto, and then, 94L, that is soon to be Imelda. I don't know, that's why it's such a tongue twister. And then Humberto over here, you can see it's starting to interact with each other. So this stalls and then eventually gets taken out over here, but also wants to get pulled back due to the high pressure up here, but then eventually gets kicked out because the trough does come down and kick it out. So if we show this in live motion, you can see it does exactly that, and then eventually gets kicked out to sea before giving a little bit of rain to the eastern parts of the US. If we just take a look at the accumulated precip, even though it wasn't on shore, you can still get 2 inches or so on the Carolina coast and a little bit into southeastern Virginia. I think everybody would be okay with that type of solution. A little bit of rain and then the storm gets kicked out. I think that's a safe little scenario right there. And finally, if we take a look at the European, you can see that it does form 94L a lot quicker. Not as strong as it is, but you can see the difference between these two is a lot further out, so this is able to go into the coast a lot easier. This one looks like to have landfall on Myrtle Beach and then just sticks around for a while, and then eventually the moisture gets picked up and lifted north. If we go to the total amount of rainfall here, you can see this is just an absolute disaster for eastern parts of South Carolina and North Carolina, and even into southern Virginia and Delaware here. You can see anywhere in the red here, that's anywhere from this region, that's 6 inches plus, and anywhere from the yellow And that is 10 inches plus. That is a lot of water in South, North, and Virginia here. This is tons and tons of water that doesn't need to be placed in a small area over a short period of time. Winds with this, it shouldn't be that bad considering that we're in September here, but if this would ever load, you can see the winds. Probably, it depends on the strength of the system, but I would probably, if I had to guess, I want to say to maybe, at least the European wants to go a little bit light on the winds, but I would not be surprised if we get anywhere, let's say in this area, has a chance to see 80-mile-an-hour wind gust. It's hard to say because it depends on the strength of the system, because if you have what the GFS had a few runs ago, let's go 12Z. If you get a 982 hurricane landfall in central South Carolina, you could definitely have a chance at 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts along the coast, and then say 40 to 60 inland, and then as the storm goes further inland, then it starts to taper off. This isn't going to be a big wind factor. This is going to be a big surge and rain factor, especially along the coast and in the mountains of North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee, sadly. Even into northern parts of Georgia and Alabama, that could be a big rain factor. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll continue to keep you guys updated on this pretty much groundbreaking alert for this system, because this wasn't like this yesterday, so I will definitely keep you guys updated as the days go on.